Take a moment to think about that sentence. It was not written by a dystopian novelist or a Hollywood screenwriter looking to create the next episode of Black Mirror. It was a formal prediction made by the World Economic Forum, an organization that brings together some of the world's most powerful people every year in the snowy mountains of Davos, Switzerland. But have you ever stopped to wonder why the world's billionaires, tech giants, and heads of state are so excited for you to own nothing? Today, we aren't talking about conspiracy theories. We are talking about documented, published, and publicly discussed plans for your future. We are delving into the Great Reset. While the Fed controls the money and BlackRock is buying up the world, the WEF is designing the cage in which we are all supposed to live. The story begins in 1971 with a man named Klaus Schwab. He founded what would become the World Economic Forum, WEF, with the aim of bringing together corporate and political leaders. However, over the decades, it has evolved into something far more influential than just a talking shop. Through its Young Global Leaders program, the WEF has effectively penetrated the cabinets, as Schwab himself famously put it, of governments worldwide. From Justin Trudeau in Canada to Emmanuel Macron in France and dozens of Fortune 500 CEOs, this program's alumni occupy the highest seats of power. It's not just a club, it's a finishing school for a global ideology, and that ideology is moving towards a complete overhaul of the social contract. At the heart of this redesign lies the concept of stakeholder capitalism. On the surface, it sounds noble. The idea that corporations should care about the environment and society, not just profits. However, beneath the surface, it represents a significant power shift. In traditional capitalism, a company is accountable to its owners. In stakeholder capitalism, however, companies are accountable to global stakeholders, which in reality means unelected international organizations and massive asset managers, such as BlackRock. This is a system in which the rules of the world are decided in private boardrooms rather than through democratic processes. The part that affects you most directly, however, is the push towards a subscription-based society. The Great Reset envisages a world in which private property is a thing of the past. You won't own your car, you'll have a transportation subscription. You won't own your home, but instead rent a living space in a smart city. Even your clothes could be leased. This is marketed as sustainable and efficient. But there is a dark side to not owning anything. If you don't own your tools, home, or transport, you are at the mercy of the provider. If your social credit or ESG score drops because you said the wrong thing or ate too much meat, access to these life essentials could be cut off with a single line of code. This is where the financial system we've discussed, the Fed and the move towards central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, completes the puzzle. In the Great Reset, money becomes programmable. The WEF has openly discussed the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which involves merging our physical, digital, and biological identities. Imagine a world where your bank account is linked to your carbon footprint. If you try to buy a steak but you've already reached your monthly CO2 limit, which has been set by a global committee, the transaction will simply be declined. This isn't science fiction. The technology to implement this is already being tested. It is the ultimate tool for behavioral engineering. The Great Reset also views crises as windows of opportunity. Whether it's a global pandemic, a climate emergency, or an economic collapse, these moments are exploited to speed up the transition. When people are afraid, they look for a savior, and the WEF is always ready with a global solution that requires just a little more of your sovereignty and privacy. They want to reset the global economy, the education system, and even the way we interact with each other, moving us towards a highly monitored, highly optimized existence. The most alarming aspect of this plan is the biological element. Schwab frequently discusses microchips that can be implanted to track health data or even read thoughts. Although this is presented as a way to enhance humanity, it also represents the ultimate frontier of surveillance. When the state or a global entity can monitor not just your spending and location, but also your biology, the concept of privacy ceases to exist. You become a data point in a vast global system designed for maximum efficiency at the expense of the human soul. As we approach 2025, the Great Reset is transitioning from the planning stage to implementation. The infrastructure is being built through the green transition, the push for digital IDs, and the war on cash. They are counting on us being too busy, tired, or distracted to notice the bars being built around us. They promise us happiness in exchange for our ownership, but history has shown that when you give up your property, you give up your voice. Ultimately, the most powerful things you can own are your mind and your autonomy. The Davos elite want a predictable, managed, and quiet world. They want a reset that favors the elite and controls the masses. However, a reset only works if the system stays intact. By understanding the plan, seeing the strings, and refusing to be a stakeholder in a rigged game, you can reclaim the one thing they can never truly own: your future. The question is no longer, what will the world look like? It is now, will you be part of their world, or will you build your own?